because it is Navaratri for another 4 days or so. Some people have sent me emails or asked questions saying, do you celebrate Navaratri? And I thought this would be an interesting topic to discuss because I do not celebrate Navaratri. And then, of course, people will say, well, you're a Devi Upasaka. You guys all know what that means, right? Illustrate my point. Because I am my practice is focused on the goddess. Why am I not celebrating Navaratri? Well, let me explain. Navaratri is 9 days from the dark to the full moon, and usually in October. But definitely at the end of the harvest season. And the reason why it's at the end of the harvest season is because this is the time when all the different groups of people gather together and pray to the goddess Durga for a successful war against their neighbors. That is the essence of Navaratri. May our attempt to kill our neighbors and steal their shit be more successful than our neighbors' attempt to kill us and steal our shit. That's Navaratri. I don't have a lot, I understand animal sacrifice and I'm fine with it because in many ways, all the animals that are ever sacrificed are going to die anyway. They're going to be, and this is the nicest way in which they could possibly. But even so, do you have to whack 1,000 buffaloes in a week just for the heck of it? Well, they do, because they think all of this is an offering that will guarantee that they are able to kill their neighbors and steal their neighbors' stuff. This is the imperial business model. So I don't celebrate Navaratri. And I think the whole discussion illustrates the difficulty of trying to go into another culture and, especially the way things are going today, and very superficially try to absorb some of the imagery and some of the concepts of another culture without really any grounding in that culture at all. There are lots of people in America tonight, practicing or celebrating Navaratri, and I think that's nice. But, personally, I got involved in yoga after the civil rights movement had kind of settled down, after there wasn't any more combat on the streets over it. And, as the Vietnam War conflict was winding down, and I really engaged in this practice to attempt to create for myself an alternative to the American culture, which in 1970 I saw desperately needed an alternative. I'd say, in retrospect, I was really right on. So, here we are in this space, surrounded by all of this imagery, which is definitely not American. What is that? What do we make of that? My engagement in India, my engagement in both with Siddha Yoga was an attempt to understand more deeply what my American guru Rudy was trying to, whose statue is here, was trying to transmit to me of his experience in India. And because, I was teaching what was called then Rudy's work, and I was, I guess, his successor. That's how we were, that's sort of how it got put to me. I really wanted to deeply understand what he was doing, and to that end, I went back to India and started exploring the sources, and, I did not want to assume I understood anything. At the same time, I was never trying to be Indian. For a long time, for years, especially when I was writing the books on Nityananda, doing the research on the books on Nityananda that I wrote, I really hoped at some point I would become Nityananda. Then I realized that was never going to happen. And I was always going to be me. Well, at first that was a big disappointment. Because why would I always want to be me forever? The whole point of, doing all this was to not be me. But I got used to it. And I even got to the point where I kind of I think it's, wonderful thing, and I'll go on from that. But my engagement in Siddha Yoga, my engagement in Vajrayana Buddhism, my engagement in Shakta Shaivism and the entirety of the tantric tradition that I have practiced has really not been about becoming a Hindu, which I am not, or a Buddhist, which I am not. It has been about becoming the best version of me I could possibly be. That's what it's about. And to that end, I work within myself through all of the accumulation of tensions. At this point, most of those tensions come from, my disciples, students. Somebody today emailed me that they called me a unicorn. I said, I'm a unicorn in a harness. They said, what harness? I said, my friends. My enemies have never been a problem for me. My friends are the problem. So I'm trying to become the best version of me I can possibly. I'm not hoping that you will absorb Hindu beliefs. I don't hope you'll absorb Buddhist beliefs. I don't want you to absorb any beliefs at all. In fact, I think beliefs are something we really have to start to get rid of before we can ever be our truest, best self. What I'm hoping you will believe in is not me and not it. I'm hoping you will believe in you. And I am hoping that because of your commitment to believe in yourself, you will, through all of the different difficulties that you will have to face, that's life, you will ever more deeply every day connect to and hold the awareness of your own finest self and bring your kindest, gentlest, most centered, loving self to every day that you live your life. And because of that, I am completely confident if you do, because of that, your life will be filled with joy. It'll still be a pain in the ass most days, but it will be pain in the ass that is permeated with joy, which is better than the alternative. I usually describe yoga, I have a definition in English of yoga, and I usually say that yoga is contact, alignment, and flow. But I've, in fact, just this very evening, come up with what I think is a more refined statement than that, which is that yoga is awareness, alignment, and flow. Because whichever part of us we hold in awareness will, from within its own internal potentiality, from its own internal vibrancy, it will become aligned and flow forth from us, both flow internally and externally to bring healing and refinement and ever more increasing range of creative expression. That is yoga, which leads us to the experience of, well, you see, I was sitting in Kamakya one Navaratri. And I had the habit for years of sitting in this temple which was built into a cliff face in Kamakya. Kamakya is remote, it's in Assam, that's far northeast India. It is one of the 4 truly ancient goddess centers, worship centers in India. It's in every Shakti Peeth list, from the 2nd century on. And the original lists are there are only 4 temples. Then by the 17th century, there's like 108. But Kamakya has been my place for about the last, 20-some years. Anyway, I spent the nights, all night, sitting in this temple that I had to climb down a cliff face to. And so one evening, I was sitting on the balcony of the place I was staying after having fought a giant monkey for an apple on my table. And I won. The monkey was fine. Just in case any of you were worried that I might have abused it. And sitting there, I was warming myself up for my practice that night and doing my mantra when the goddess herself came to me and said, I'm everything. I'm everything. I'm the sun that is setting. I'm the clouds in the sky. I'm the hills. I'm the trees on the hills. I'm the road. I'm the car. I'm the people. I'm this hill. I'm this building. I'm all these temples. I'm this body. I'm these senses. I'm this mind. I am, the essence of experience itself. I am everything. I am you, I am me, I am everything. Everything. And our practice, this practice and our practice, is about awakening the flow of creative energy in our body and in our nervous system and in our awareness to the degree that all of these structures within our brain begin to loosen. The structures that tell us that when we extend our awareness, there is another, there's a you. And when that livingness of our awareness, the respiratory process of our awareness, inhales from its contact with the other It says me. You and me, you and me. It and I, it and I. There is only one awareness that out of its respiratory process is generating trillions and trillions of feedback loops, all of which become all of the appearances, all the living forms of living energy that manifest themselves, not just as life on earth, but as life everywhere in forms that are beyond our capacity to conceive. The goddess said, I'm everywhere, I'm everything. Everything is me. And so that means that the life that we have is the life that has been given to us as an expression of the creativity of the goddess. It need not be changed. It only need be cultivated and ripened and allowed to flower and become sweet and fragrant. That's what we're doing here. You know, we are doing the work of cultivating that constrained experience of the goddess to the degree that, you know, the flow within and around us, the flow in our life will dissolve this, a little bit anyway, the structures of our brain and allow us to see into our own depth and know that we are one. Rudy used to say, karma is a shit sandwich. He was charming. He said, and he also said, just because somebody hands it to you doesn't mean you have to take a bite. Rudy he grew up in Brooklyn. Awakening, activating the flow within ourself, focusing carefully and experiencing the connection that is available to each of us, but among us here, we can begin to experience what an energetic connection is. And as that energetic connection that we experience becomes part of the dynamic system that we are, our energy is intensified, and we have the chance to see first our subtle connection to one thing. And then the amazing thing is, if you can see your connection to one thing and you can work that, you will suddenly discover you are connected in everything. And that's what all these triangles behind me are trying to say. You know, everything is interconnected, but it keeps going. The interconnections and the interconnections and the interconnections suddenly are only one respiratory process that's so simple and so beautiful and so eternally present within you. And that is the only thing you should believe in. You should find that, you should hold that in your awareness and allow, you know, the precognitive impulse, as Alexis would say, allow that subtlest creative energy rising up within you to become, you know, aligned as your intention and aligned as your physical body and aligned as the action from the deepest place in your soul to the most superficial place that you secretly go for lunch at occasionally when you are not really being the best yogi you can possibly be. We're not trying to be Hindus or Buddhists. And you know, the wonderful thing about sacred art isn't about worshiping anything. Sacred art exists to remind us of the richness that is available to us in the entire atmosphere. If there's only one thing, the goddess, then when we open our hearts and minds, we are receiving the deliciousness of the goddess every moment of that we live in awareness, alignment, and flow. Let's show up for our practice, what do you say? The world needs it desperately. Namaste.